Hey guys, this is Danielle. I had a couple people give me some questions regarding the exploration this week, and specifically the Calculamb problem and how the instructor was getting to the solution she was getting to. I think most everybody was able to get to this point where we had the equation that we got from setting the two lambdas equal to each other, and we simplified it with algebra. And then you have your constraint equation, which is the circle near that the Calculamb must reside in. So what you need to do is you need to take your constraint equation, which I have in red, and I solved it for y or for x. So it's really a personal preference or not, but I personally like to go ahead and FOIL. I think it makes the equation easier when you do that. So when you FOIL, you're going to multiply the y minus 1, with itself. And so you would multiply the first terms, the outside terms, the inside terms, and the last terms. And then you're going to isolate your x. So you can combine like terms. So when you isolate, you can subtract the y squared to the other side. You can add the 2y to the other side. And you can subtract the 1, which will combine with the 9 to be an 8. So that's what your x squared is equal to, which you can actually use that when you go to do your problem. It might make your life a little bit easier. But you also need to know what plane x is equivalent to, and that's plus or minus the square root of this expression. Okay. All right, so once you have your x solved for, so I'm going to end up using both of these, then you're going to take them and you're going to substitute them into your constraint equation in order to get it simplified. Okay, so when I look at my constraint equation, I notice that I have an x squared in there. So what I can do is, instead of using x squared, I can use what x squared is equivalent to, which is negative y squared plus 2y plus 8. And then I have a plus 2xy. So I'm going to put the plus 2y down, and I'm going to multiply it by x, which is the square root of negative y squared plus 2y plus 8. Then I have my minus x. So I'm going to write that as minus the square root of negative y squared plus 2y plus 8. And then I have my minus y squared and my plus y, and that's all equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to scoot us down a little bit. Okay, so this seemed to be the part that people were struggling with, was how she simplified this expression to get to the part where she could plug into her calculator and find the zeros. Okay, so the first thing that I did was anything that didn't have a radical, I moved it to the other side. Okay, so that means I left my two expressions with radicals. So I left my 2y with the radical, and I left my negative radical. And then I ended up subtracting this 2y and this 1y to the other side. So I subtracted 3y to the other side, and then I subtracted 8. Okay, Now, the other thing she didn't show, and she actually moved her items to the other side of the equation. So all of our signs are going to be opposite, but it won't end up mattering. So the other thing she didn't show was that she actually factored out the radical. So the first radical is being multiplied by 2y, and the second radical is being multiplied by. So she factored that out. Like that. And then she did let you know that she was going to square both sides of the equation. So this could be where you're having another issue, if you are having an issue. So just be careful here. I'm going to use a different color. When you square the 2y minus 1, you have to FOIL it. So when you FOIL that, it's going to end up being 4y squared, and you're going to get minus 2y, which is minus 4y, and then you're going to get plus 1. Now when you square the radical, that turns out kind of nice because it just removes the radical. They're inverse operations of each other. So you would be left with negative y squared plus 2y plus 8. And then this one is also going to be a doozy. When you go to square it, you have to also FOIL this expression. So you have to do 2y squared minus 3y minus 8 twice. So it's up to you, but both the left-hand side and the right-hand side need to be expanded. So I like to do it systematically. So I always start with my first terms. So if I start on the left-hand side, I would take 4y squared times negative y squared, which would give me negative 4y to the fourth. And then I'll do the first to the middle term, which would give me 8y to the third. And then the first term to the last term, which would give me plus 32y squared. Then I'm going to use my middle term. Negative 4y times negative y squared is plus 4y to the third minus 8y squared minus 32y, and then I'm going to do the last term. Minus 1y squared plus 2y plus 8. And then I will combine those like terms. So that would give me negative 4y to the fourth plus 12y to the third. And then 32 minus 8 would be 24. And 24 minus 1 would be 23y squared. Negative 30y plus 8. Now you got to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So we're going to multiply the firsts, then to the second, then to the last. Now do your second term to the first, to the second, to the last, and then do your last term to the first, second, last, and then combine your like terms like we did over here. So that would give us 4y to the fourth minus 12y to the third. So negative 16 and negative 16 would be negative 32 plus 9 would be negative 23y squared plus 48y plus 64. Okay. Scoot this up again. Now you've got to get everything to one side of the equal sign. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to add the 4y to the fourth, which would give us 8y to the fourth. I'm going to subtract the 12y to the third, which would give us negative 24y to the third. I'm going to subtract the 23y squared. I'm going to add the 30y. And I'm going to subtract 8. And then that is what she put into her calculator, although she had to use X in the calculator because that's how the calculator is programmed. And then she used the calculate zero feature to find the potential solutions.